Hello and welcome to Timeless with Julie Hartman Live. It is Monday, December 2nd, 2024. I'm Julie Hartman, and it is great, as always, to be with you. 844-861-5537 is the call-in number, 844-861-5537. And as always, you can use the live chat right here on YouTube. I will be monitoring it throughout the episode. And I want to thank all of you for your continued messages of prayers and thoughts for Dennis. I saw him in the hospital yesterday and over the weekend, and his spirits are good, and he is slowly and steadily improving. And I am telling you that his spirits are all the more encouraged when I read messages of goodwill from listeners like you, and especially when you tell him how and why he has influenced you. So please do email me at julie@julie-hartman.com. I always love hearing from you about anything. And as I said, Dennis especially appreciates it right now. Well, the big news today, I know, comes as a total shock to many of us. Joe Biden decided to pardon his son, becoming the first U.S. president ever, that's right, ever, to pardon his own child. Let's listen to the past 4 years of the media, including the president, gaslighting us that, of course, Joe Biden would never do such a thing.
Presidential promise to put the law before family.
I said I abide by the jury decision. I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
Letting the world know that he will not wipe away the decision of 12 of his son's peers.
Was asked directly, and he has said he wouldn't pardon his son if he gets convicted.
Let's wait and see what happens if he loses.
Yeah, but he said it.
He's going to get pardoned by his dad. There's no question about that.
The president has ruled out pardoning his son.
Major commitment from the president, accepting the outcome of the trial and also pledging not to pardon his son.
So the challenge for him is really to continue to live up to his values when it was really personal, and he did that today.
It seems like a pretty normal, straightforward answer, but it takes new weight when we see what Trump is saying about the outcome of his trial, what we're hearing from other Republicans who say they don't accept the jury's verdict here in New York.
The contrast is profound. To sit there and say, well, I'm not going to intervene in the legal process, and I wouldn't pardon my son. One side, Democrats and Joe Biden protecting the justice system, and on the other, Republicans and Trump protecting Trump.
Our current president.
All right. We know. By the way, this clip goes on for 9 minutes. This is just the first minute and a half of the clip, but it goes on with the media continuing to gaslight. Boy, those comments did not age well for those individuals. I bet they are hoping they would be wiped from the internet today. So let's take a look here at this pardon, because the scope of the pardon and the type of pardon is important. So Joe Biden, as the president of the United States, does have the power to pardon anyone, including members of his own family, for various crimes. But here's what's important. Two main things. Number one, he didn't grant a commutation of the sentence. He didn't shorten the sentence, which he could have done and left the convictions and his guilty plea standing. He didn't do that. He issued a full and unconditional pardon. And he also said that the pardon would not just apply to the crimes for which Hunter has pled guilty or been convicted of, but they would go all the way back to crimes dating from January 1st, 2014. Now, why is that important? Because it covers a large scope of time under which the Biden family has been investigated for, among other things, getting bribes from foreign nationals. In April of 2014 was when Hunter Biden was brought on the board of Burisma, which was the Ukrainian energy firm that he was somehow appointed to the board of, even though he has no known ties to Ukraine, nor does he have any kind of outstanding experience in the realm of energy and being on boards of companies. But nevertheless, while his father was vice president under President Obama, he was the head of U.S.-Ukrainian policy. And then, as it happens, of course, his son gets appointed to be the head of Burisma. Reading here from the actual unconditional pardon, it's again called full and unconditional. It is for, quote, those offenses against the United States which Robert Hunter Biden has committed or may have committed or taken part in Biden during the period from January 1st, 2014 through December 1st, 2024, including but not limited to all offenses charged or prosecuted by special counsel David C. Weiss. Now, what happened here is that although President Biden alleges that the charges brought against his son are politically motivated, they happened under his Justice Department. The Attorney General of the United States, Merrick Garland, was appointed by President Biden. Attorney General Garland, in turn, appointed special counsel David Weiss in order to investigate Hunter Biden. And so he's saying that all of this is politically motivated, but these are coming from his own appointees in the Justice Department. Nevertheless, here's what the president said, quote, "Today I signed a pardon for my son Hunter." This is yesterday. "From the day I took office, I said I would not interfere with the Justice Department's decision making. And I kept my word." Up until today, even as I watched my son being selectively unfairly prosecuted. He says, without aggravating factors like use in a crime, multiple purchases, or buying a weapon as a straw purchaser, people are almost never brought to trial on felony charges solely for how they filled out a gun form. That's not true, by the way. Those who were late paying their taxes because of serious addictions but paid them back subsequently with interest and penalties are typically given non-criminal resolutions. It's clear that Hunter was treated differently. He goes on to say, quote, "No reasonable person who looks at the facts of Hunter's cases can reach any other conclusion than that Hunter was singled out only because he is my son, and that is wrong. There's been an effort to break Hunter, who has been 5.5 years sober, even in the face of unrelenting attacks and selective prosecution. In trying to break Hunter, they've tried to break me, and there's no reason to believe it will stop here. Enough is enough." So going back to June, Hunter Biden was convicted in Delaware of 3 felony counts of lying on paperwork in order to purchase a gun. It's pretty simple. If you are filling out paperwork to purchase a gun, you have to disclose if you are a drug addict, because there are some issues with drug addicts having guns. He lied that he was not a drug addict, and he then went on to possess a firearm while being a drug addict in 2018. Now, that carries a punishment in most cases up to 10 years of prison time, which Hunter Biden now is going to be wiped clean of. In September, Hunter pled guilty to several other federal charges related to tax crimes. Also, the slate is being wiped clean for him. And this pardon is coming during the same month that Hunter was going to be sentenced to those aforementioned crimes. It was just going to be a matter of weeks right now in December when he was going to face prison time. So it appears that Hunter was facing a pretty grisly fate for his father to step in the dwindling days of his administration and issue this pardon. You know, even less than a month ago, in early November, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said in response to a question about this, quote, "We've been asked that question," i.e., is Joe going to pardon Hunter? "We've been asked that question multiple times, and our answer stands no." Oy. I mean, I can't say I'm surprised. I'm sure you're not surprised. It's just, you know what's upsetting about it, in addition to, you know, every possible thing, the fact that the president lied, the fact that Hunter Biden, who is clearly a scumbag and a criminal, is going to get off. What's difficult about this is that, at least in the past in the United States, if a president was going to be engaged in activities to benefit his own family, there was at least some semblance of hiding it or trying to conceal it from the general public. I guess the Biden family has attempted to do that, but this is so obviously a family favor. This so obviously undermines the impartiality of the president of the United States. And he's just doing it anyway. It appears that President Biden knows that his reputation is in the dumpster, and he's kind of doing this last-ditch final days of the administration moment, like, well, I already was humiliated. I said that I would not drop out of the race, that I was the only man who could beat Donald Trump, that only if the Lord Almighty told me that I would have to drop out would I drop out. And then he was pushed out in a coup by Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Barack Obama. And now he's probably just going, F it. I'm already going to go down in the history books as a bumbling fool who, among other things, calls Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, President Putin, the president of Russia. But it just also, I think, fits into a much larger theme here of the Biden family and of President Biden himself, which is that he has repeatedly used his position in office in order to benefit his family. We have covered this relentlessly on this show, and it is amazing that it does not get more attention in the formerly mainstream media. For instance, if you look at China, in February of 2017, this is according to the Hunter Biden laptop story, a few weeks after Vice President Biden left office, Ye Jianming, who is the founder and chairman of one of China's biggest energy companies, and he's also buddies with Xi Jinping. He's called the Belt and Road billionaire for his help with President Xi Jinping in establishing the largely successful Belt and Road initiative around the world. This guy, Ye Jianming, flew out to Miami and hosted Hunter at a private dinner. Afterwards, he gave Hunter Biden a 3.16 carat diamond worth $80,000. And after that meeting and after the diamond gift, he emailed Hunter, and those email exchanges showed that Ye Jianming promised Hunter $10 million annually for at least 3 years in return for, quote, introductions alone. Now, where is Hunter Biden getting those introductions from? We know where. Later that year, in May of 2017, that is when an email was exchanged between the two that infamously had that line of 10% being held for the big guy. That was identified by Hunter Biden's associates who testified under oath as Joe Biden. Then we also see that according to subpoenaed bank records, on March 1st, 2017, State Energy HK Limited, which is a firm affiliated with the CEFC energy company headed by Ye Jianming, wired $3 million to Robinson Walker LLC, which was one of the dozens of shell companies that Hunter Biden and his business associates opened up in order to minimize the fingerprints and add more chains of wrongdoing so as to distance themselves from a direct payment. After that, that $3 million was doled out in various amounts, again, according to various subpoenaed bank records, to then Vice President Joe Biden's brother, his daughter-in-law, his sons, etc. But that wasn't enough. Later that year, this is after the diamond. This is after the $3 million being wired from State HK Limited to Robinson Walker LLC. There were these WhatsApp text messages between Hunter Biden and a Chinese businessman named Raymond Zhou. And Hunter was very angry that he wasn't getting more money from the CCP-backed companies that were bribing the Biden family. Reading here from the WhatsApp messages, Hunter told CEFC employee Raymond Zhou that he was sitting next to his dad and that the two would, quote, like to understand why the commitment made has not been fulfilled. He went on to say, quote, tell the director that I would like to resolve this now before it gets out of hand. And now means tonight. And Z, Hunter says, if I get a call or text from anyone involved in this other than you, Zhang, or the chairman, I will make certain that between the man sitting next to me and every person he knows and my ability to forever hold a grudge, that you will regret not following my decision. And then, wouldn't you know, within 6 days, on August 4th, 2017, that text message was on July 30th. On August 4th, CEFC Infrastructure Investment paid Owasco PC, that's another shell company, $100,000, and then another $5 million was transferred 4 days later on August 8th. So, yeah, we can understand why the pardon went back to January 1st, 2014, because all of the aforementioned actions took place within that time frame. But we have to also see here that President Biden is not just pardoning his son. Really, in effect, he's pardoning himself, because he is involved in this, it appears. There are pictures with him at Cafe Milano in DC with Hunter and many of his business associates. The introductions that are mentioned in those text messages, as I had indicated earlier, where do you think Hunter Biden is getting those introductions from? And in a way, he's really trying to conceal and wipe clean the greater apparatus of peddling and enrichment that his son was orchestrating in tandem, it seems, with Joe himself. So this is just incredibly disappointing. Can't say it's surprising, but the question is, will any of his supporters care? Sean, who, by the way, welcome onto the show. You think they're going to care?
No.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll talk about it. I don't think they'll report it. All these people, that 9-minute clip of them saying what he will do. KJP spoke about it today from Air Force One.
Really? What'd she say?
Yeah, speaking for Biden, he said he came to this decision this weekend, and he said he wrestled with it, and because he believes in the justice system, but he also believes that the war politics infected the process and led to a miscarriage of justice. Hunter was singled out, and because his last name was Biden, because he was the president's son, that's what we saw. And so the president believed enough is enough, and the president took action. And he also believes that they tried to break his son in order to break him.
What's your reaction to that?
I'm tired of this crew. I'm tired of the lies and the BS. I think if Trump had done anything like this, you'd never hear the end of it. They'd be talking about he's a dictator for life, and he's never gonna. The hypocrisy. What's good for them is not good for us. What's that phrase? I'm glad that Trump won. I'm glad these people are getting out of the White House. I don't necessarily. I mean, what do you expect him? Of course, he's going to pardon his son. What got me is, months ago when he said he wouldn't do it.
Well, and many times he said that he wouldn't do it. And the thing that I go back to, as I had said earlier, is that I really think that a lot of this is because he knows that his reputation is done for. I think he probably would have done it anyway because he seems to be an individual devoid of principles in many cases. By the way, did you see, speaking of being devoid of principles, did you see him exiting that bookstore over the weekend holding, you got to Google this, Sean. President Biden was photographed exiting a bookstore, and he was holding under his arm a book about the Israel-Palestine conflict that you can pull up the name of it. I'll look it up right now quickly for those of you joining us on live. You can see all the 100 Years War, yes, and it's written by someone who doesn't believe that Israel has the right to exist. And it's just funny. I actually am happy is a strong word, but in a way, this is a good thing that Joe Biden is doing this because it just shows plainly who he is. And this is something that we know, we're not surprised by, but now it's just out in the open.
I think it's also unprecedented because this is the first time a president has pardoned a turkey after Thanksgiving.
Oh, burn. B-U-R-N. By the way, I have seen Hunter Biden in the flesh. I've also seen Hillary in the flesh. Yeah, and I'm okay. I recovered from that and doing fine. Okay, before we move on to our super fun timeless topic, which has nothing to do with Hunter Biden, is far more elevating than Hunter Biden, let me tell you about something I know you have been wondering about constantly, and that is MyPillow. Well, we're coming up on Christmas, and it's really good to get ahead of Christmas shopping and to get a discount on that Christmas shopping. You can get MyPillow's famous My Slippers, which yours truly wears. They haven't been on sale for over a year, and they're regularly priced at $119.98. But for a limited time, you can get them for $59.98. You can also get their 6-piece towel sets, which are back in stock with extremely limited quantities. You can get them for only $29.98. With hundreds of MyPillow products, there's something for everyone on your Christmas list. From bathrobes, duvets, quilts, down comforters, and so much more. Go to MyPillow.com or call 1-800-566-6745 and be sure to use the promo code Hartman to save on all MyPillow products. Again, that is the promo code Hartman. Flannel sheets you can get as low for as $59.98. Again, their 6-piece towel sets for just $29.98. But that's not all. They're extending their 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st, 2025. Plus, all orders over $75 ship absolutely free. Promo code Hartman, HARTMAN. So because it is December, the lovely month of Christmas, I wanted to try something a little different for our December shows. And for each of the shows leading up to Christmas, and that's 9 of them, and then if those go well, we can do the last 3 in December after Christmas and before the new year with this too. I thought that I would dedicate a few minutes to a different story in the Gospels. Like many people who grew up in Los Angeles, grew up in a largely secular environment and is below the age of 30, my reading of the Bible is a fairly new development in my life. And I can't tell you how much more enriched and happier I've been from reading the Bible. And what I say to people all the time is, you don't have to believe in it. It's such an important thing to know just to be a worldly person. That's actually what got me associated with Dennis Prager. I was in COVID, lockdowns, rotting away in my childhood bedroom, and I decided to read the Bible because I am not kidding. If you went up to me 5 years ago, 20-year-old Julie, and you said, hey, can you tell me the difference between the Old Testament and the New Testament? I would not have been able to tell you. That is how much I lacked in biblical literacy. If you said to me, can you tell me who Cain and Abel are? Can you tell me who Elijah is? Can you tell me who Moses is? I would say people in the Bible. And if they pressed me and said, yeah, but can you say anything more? I really couldn't. You can't imagine how little biblical literacy so many of us have. And I was sitting there in COVID and I thought, you know what? In order to be an informed person, I really ought to read this. Just to understand what billions of people have believed and understand the foundations of my own country. And that led me on this incredible path, including finding Dennis, because that's how I ordered his Bible commentary. And I really want to dedicate more of the show towards talking about spirituality. Because our secular society, for all of the things that we have coming at us, for all of the goodies that are dangled in front of us and the options that we have, we are so spiritually desiccated. We're so dried up, and we desperately need this kind of enrichment in our lives. And it seems that people are seeking it. There was this article yesterday, which I thought was incredible, in the Wall Street Journal. I'm reading here from the Journal, quote, Bible sales are up 22% in the United States through the end of October compared with the same period last year, according to book tracker Circana BookScan. By contrast, total U.S. book sales were up less than 1% in that period. It's pretty cool. According to Pew, 28% of adults in the U.S. now consider themselves religiously unaffiliated. But despite that, Bible sales rose to 14.2 million in 2023. That's up from 9.7 million in 2019. And then it hit 13.7 million in the first 10 months of 2024. So people are seeking it. And I would imagine that it would go beyond mere wanting to be informed about our civilization. Though people don't recognize how much the Bible played a role in the Declaration of Independence and in the Constitution in ways that I call a-religious, or actually kind of secular. What's so cool about the Bible is it's both, as I just said, very religious and very a-religious. The fact that all of us are created in the image and likeness of God, the fact that we are all created equal, that is at once a invention in the Bible that was unprecedented. So in that way, it's religious, but it's also totally a-religious. And now it has gotten to the place where we've so forgotten how revolutionary it is that it seems like it was just something that cropped up irrespective of the Bible. Just on this point, I want to give a few examples how little, again, people understand our biblical foundations of, if you go back to the Constitution or to the Declaration of Independence, that first one, that we're all created equal under God. As I just indicated, people don't understand how revolutionary that idea was, and by the way, is, in the scheme of human existence. I was just talking about the Israel conflict. Look at that. Look at how many people are brainwashed to believe that Jews are dogs and pigs and deserve to be eliminated. Look at the caste system in India. Look at the way that women are subjugated all around the world. Look at the way that gay people are subjugated. There are laws discriminating against gay people in over half of Africa's 54 countries. We, luxuriating in this in the United States, think that this is the norm and think that that was the norm for a lot of human civilization, and that's not true. The fact that we're endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, that is incredible because it shows that we all have a human dignity that can't be trampled upon. If man gives us our rights, man can take them away. If God gives us our rights, God can't take them away. The insight that human nature is not basically good, that we need guardrails against some of our desires. Yeah, did I not say that? Oh, okay. Then man can't take them away, yes. The fact that human nature isn't basically good, that's the whole system of checks and balances. Where do you think people got that from? It was from this biblical insight. Even the separation of church and state, ironically, is another biblical insight. It says in the Bible, Jesus says, render unto Caesar's, which is Caesar's, render unto God's, which is God's. But I want to focus in these episodes, even though it's, I hope, helpful and interesting to know about our biblical civilizational roots. I want to focus more on the interpersonal aspects of the Bible that I believe are so elevating, especially in a culture now where we're taught to live out our truth and succumb to our desires and do whatever makes us happy, that we don't have allegiance to other people, that we should seek hedonism in our lives. Looking at this and contemplating too that if you believe in this, that this is God, it's an incredible thing. By the way, what other religion has a story like this? Just to zoom out, that God would come down into human form, take on our flesh, walk beside us, suffer alongside us, be tested alongside us. That is an incredible thing. And the story we're going to look at today is the temptation of Christ. And that is especially cool because what other God, as I said, not only would come down on earth and become a human being, but also would subject himself to the kinds of temptations and sufferings that all human beings do. It shows that this God of the New Testament and of the Judeo-Christian tradition is not coming down as a conqueror or as a king, but as a suffering servant. That is totally revolutionary in the scheme of religion in so many ways. So let's look at the story. And I have paintings, of course, to supplement some of this. So those of you who are listening, you would probably benefit from watching because these paintings are very cool. In fact, Sean said I got the chills when I saw some of them. The story is very short. Essentially, it's that Jesus was baptized in the Jordan River by John, and the Holy Spirit came out of the sky and descended upon him like a dove and said to Jesus, "You are my son who I love, and with you I am well pleased." So essentially, the Holy Spirit, God, is saying, you are the Messiah. And what is so interesting is that immediately after it is affirmed from the heavens that Jesus is the Son of God, it says the Spirit sent him out into the wilderness. He was there for 40 days and 40 nights. He fasted there in the wilderness, and he was surrounded by all of these wild beasts. And so if we just pause, we go, wow, literally the moment after he is proclaimed to be the Son of God, he is sent into the wilderness for temptation. That's a pretty amazing thing, because in a way, it shows that Jesus has to prove that he is the Son of God. It's not just someone, coming down and saying, hey, I have all this authority over you. I'm the Messiah. Follow me. He is showing, no, I need to earn your respect. I need to earn your following me. I have to prove to you that I am who I say I am, that I'm the real deal. And so he's in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights. And what's also interesting about this, and we can pull up picture 6, which is one of our images here, It's oh, that's actually not the right image. Forgive me. We'll go back. No, that's my fault. Although that is a lovely image. We'll look at let's see which one. Picture 4. This is a Thomas Cole of angels ministering to Christ in the wilderness. We can see there that he's in a barren wilderness. And a lot of people think that this story is kind of a replication of the Garden of Eden story, where they're in the wilderness. This one is barren because it represents paradise lost after the fall. And Jesus, like Adam and Eve, is tempted by food. But unlike Adam and Eve, Jesus is called the second Adam, he's proving a second time around how to do it right, how to resist that temptation. So the first one here, it says, the tempter came to him and said, if you are the Son of God, tell these stones to become bread. And he answers, man shall not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God. That is a very relevant statement to the world that we're living in today. Man does not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God. If you look at, for instance, the homelessness problem and the drug addiction problem that we have here that is rampant in the United States, and we've talked about on this show, every year it seems to go up by double-digit percentage points. We focus so much on the material needs of those who are suffering. What we grievously overlook is the spiritual need of those who are suffering. Mother Teresa said that one of the, and she was, as we know, someone who was very closely acquainted with poverty. She said that the thing that people don't understand about poverty is that as difficult as it is physically, the real debilitating part of poverty is not the material poverty, it's the spiritual poverty. It's that people have so been neglected, so been cast aside and overlooked and ignored by society that they forget that they're a human being. And they forget what it's like to be loved, to be treated with dignity and respect, to be someone who deserves to be looked at in the eye and spoken to. And that's why when I go around my daily life in Los Angeles and I go into my CVS and say hi to my homeless friend Daniel, I learn his name, Daniel, and I look at him in his eyes and I call him sir, and I treat him like a human being. And this is just one of the truths that we have completely lost as a society. It's what he just said there. We don't live on bread alone. We're not just material people. We are spiritual people. We need a spiritual succor. We need a kind of foundation and roots for us to orient ourselves and to give meaning to our lives. And so I think that that statement is just incredible and really doesn't get the kind of recognition of modern relevance that it deserves. Here's another painting that I think is, I mean, all these are great. This is picture 2. This is a Juan de Flandes painting. It's called The Temptation of Christ. And it's dating back to 1500. And you see the devil there with horns going up and tempting Jesus. Another one is picture 3. This is Ivan Kramskoy from 1872. And you see there the barren wilderness. And you also see how sad and he looks and how difficult this is. And that's something too, that when God came down and walked on this earth, he went through the same things that we all went through. They say that there isn't a human emotion or a human trial that he didn't encounter. And again, that was his way, I think, of proving I'm the real deal. I'm not going to sit up here on a throne of gold and condescend down to you and tell you what to do or tell you how to handle yourself. I'm going to show you how to do it. So that's the first temptation. He says, well, if you're really the Son of God, and I know how hungry you are, turn those stones into bread and eat. And he refuses. Then it says, the devil took him to the holy city, it's Jerusalem, and had him stand on the highest point of the temple. He says, quote, if you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, he will command his angels concerning you, and they will lift you up in their hands, so that you will not strike your foot against a stone. So he's saying, throw yourself off a cliff. And Jesus answered to him, "It is also written, do not put the Lord your God to the test." This is my favorite image of all of them. Let's look at picture one. This is from 1890. And you can see there that he is brought up at the highest point of the temple, and you can see those overarching wings of Satan surrounding him. It's so eerie. So eerie. And look at also the see-throughness of those wings. My art appreciation eye is marveling at the way that those are see-through. But this kind of temptation harkens to something that we all kind of are tempted by. And that's what's called a sin of presumption. What the devil was saying to Jesus is essentially, well, if you have this kind of status, if you're the Son of God, then do this thing, throw yourself off a cliff and rely on the fact that God will protect you. And he says no. And this is a kind of instruction, I think, for us in our daily lives when we think that we are somehow immune to consequences because we're good people. We oftentimes tell ourselves, or we hear other people saying, well, I'm a good person. I may have done bad things in my past, but I'm a good person. But that doesn't really hold up because you are what you do. You are nothing but what you do. Maybe not nothing, but you are 99% of what you do. And so we can't just do dumb and stupid things and think that God will save us because we're good people. We have to demonstrate through our actions that we're not going to do that. And you know what? The thing about that is he probably could have thrown himself off the highest point of the temple and been saved because he is the Son of God. But again, he's showing I'm not above you. I'm going to instruct how to deal with this with dignity and righteousness. And then the third temptation. This is so short, by the way. People who don't want to read the Bible, it's really sparse language. It's quite compact. And also the Gospel of Mark, very short if you just want to get a download. The third temptation, it says, the devil took him to a very high mountaintop and showed him all the kingdoms of the world in their splendor. All of this I will give you, he said, if you bow down and worship me. And Jesus said to him, away from me, Satan, for it is written, worship the Lord your God and serve him only. And then the devil left him and the angels attended to him. The Apostle John said that those three temptations, the bread, the sin, one that I call the sin of presumption, being on the highest point of the temple and tempting to throw himself off and be saved, and then following Satan and having all of the kingdom. The Apostle John says that these are the three main categories of human temptation: the lust of flesh, the lust of eyes, and the pride of life. And again, it shows that there wasn't a temptation or there wasn't an element of human life that he didn't himself subject himself to. So whatever it is that we are going through as people, we can literally flip to one of the stories in the Gospels and look and go, well, how would he have handled that? How did he handle that? And take a kind of strength and instruction from it. And I think also that this shows that, and it's a kind of paradox of life or a kind of a difficult pill to swallow, that in order to understand things, you have to go through them. You're strengthened by resistance and you're strengthened by temptation. It's like going to the gym. You have to put yourself through hell and stretch your body to past your limits and maybe even get sore and get hurt in order to grow and become stronger. And I think these tests are showing that even God himself doesn't just have all of this spiritual wisdom and can just walk through life unscathed. All of us need to go through these kinds of tests in order to grow in our faith and grow in a better sense of understanding of how to handle certain things. And so I just find that to be a cool feature of this kind of story, that the person who is telling us what to do, he himself went through it. But it does raise the question, does God orchestrate these kinds of tests for us? Or are they just things that are a part of life, or are they things that he's leading us through? And the cool thing about this story is that it shows the latter. And I find that to be really comforting when I'm going through something. I'm going, why the hell is this happening to me? Why am I going through this? I go back to this story, and it says that right after he is proclaimed to be the Son of God, he is sent into the wilderness. God is directing him to go in there and face this kind of temptation to come out of the other side of it. And so it may sound kind of, I don't know, wishful thinking, but I think that's something that can give us all a bit of strength. And to look at these stories and see the way that they unfold and understand a little bit more the design of the way that things work. So that's it today. Today was Temptation Day. And I'll be doing more parables, I'll be doing more stories, but I just wish that more people had biblical literacy. I mean, I never knew any of this, let me tell you. As I said, I didn't know the differences between the Old Testament and the New Testament. Definitely didn't know that Jesus was tempted in the desert. I was reading the other day that he casted out a demon from a child. I didn't know that. There are things that I still continue to learn. And you know what? This really, I mean, I know I'm going all conservative on you now. This really should be taught in schools. It's unbelievable that this is not taught. And Sean's laughing. I'm sounding like a conservative family member at the dinner table. But why wouldn't you teach this? It's the basis of civilization. It can help you grow as a person. Why is this not something that you would impart to people? And you know, also another thing, I've never understood people's opposition to wanting to know this. Can't tell you how many people I ask, and we see that this is improving, and I'll say, do you want to read the Bible with me? And they'll look at me like, you religious junkie. No. Or why would I ever do that? And it's like, if billions of people believe this, and if this is believed to be the word of God, don't you want to know it? That's all I got to say. Can I get an amen?
Amen, sister.
All right.
Aaron Prager is in the chat.
Oh, is he?
And I bring that up just to say to you, at one point he asked, does anyone know the proposed seal from the U.S. that was designed by Jefferson?
No.
And I'm guessing you haven't seen it.
No.
So I asked the guys to prepare that picture for you, and they're going to put it up on the screen right now, and I want you to look at it.
Someone's writing crack is whack. That's hilarious.
I think it's fitting for what you've been talking about. Go ahead, Brandon.
All right. Rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God. Ooh. Wow. That is a pretty damn cool one. Wow. Wait, what was that? That was the one that Jefferson designed? Wow.
This was the original proposed seal for the United States from Jefferson and Adams and Franklin.
Wow, maybe we should adopt it as a second de facto kind of seal. That's pretty cool. Well, thank you. And thank you for listening. As I said, you can email me at julie@julie-hartman.com. I love hearing from you, and I'll see you tomorrow right here on YouTube at 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Eastern. Take care.